Hi everyone, I am Ariana. This is the first live stream that I am doing, so we'll see how this goes. I think it might be fun to do a few little projects like this, and that way you guys can get to know me a little more and you can kind of interact with me a little more than just watching my videos. I'm just going to be working from here, so I know I don't have the best camera angles right now. We'll see about setting up another camera that will hopefully show more of the sewing machine and stuff, but for now this will have to do. But anyways, I recently made a bunch of masks because now it is required in most places that you have to wear one when you go outside, when you're interacting with people and whatnot. So I finally decided to make my own, since they're very hard to find right now. And well, I started cutting some out because I have a ton of scrap fabric that I have been hoarding for about, I don't know, years now, and I just didn't have the heart to really throw all of it away because there were some pretty good sized chunks. So this is actually a really perfect project for all your scrap fabric, because all you really need is a fat quarter, and a fat quarter will at least give you two depending on the sizes that you're making. So I found a pattern. I know there's all different kinds, but the ones I really liked were the ones that covered your whole face, which I forgot to grab one, but these are the ones that I really like. So they kind of go over, so it does cover quite a bit. I like this style a lot. It makes me feel as secure as I can be, being that it covers a lot of your face. I know some of the other ones with the gathered sides, they don't look as snug fitting, I guess you could say, and sometimes you could see it like going so low on the nose. It's just hard to think that, you know, nothing's like getting inside the mask there if anything were to come into your face. Yeah, so I like these, and the pattern that I found was from a YouTube video. Her channel is Daisy Multifaceta, and she made these patterns, so that's what I used. She has one where it shows you how to draw it out yourself in case you don't have a printer or your printer's not working, which is usually mostly the case a lot of the times. And then she shows you how to do it with kid sizes and to make large sizes and extra large sizes. So that was really neat. That's what I liked about it the most, is that it was really easy to change the sizing. And yeah, so this size that I'm making today is going to be a medium size. That one fits my face best, and the one I'm going to be making right now is going to be for my husband, and he likes the medium size. But depending how big your face is, maybe sometimes a larger size might be better. So I already have my pattern from when I was making them. So we have the medium size right here. So just to give you an idea, so there's the small size that you can see the difference. This fits my 3-year-old very well for the small size. I think it should fit up until at least 10, I think, at least a 10-year-old. And then this is the, where is it? And then this is the large size. So you can see the difference between the medium and the large. And like I said, this one, if you have a bigger head, it's good, but if not, if you really like a lot of coverage, this will be really good to use. But I will just be doing the medium. So we have our front and back. They're very similar. They're pretty much the same pattern, just that the back extends a little more. Or I'm sorry, this is the front. The front extends a little more. That way you can make the channels for your ties. I ended up cutting these out of cereal boxes. So that way I was able to make like a ton. I just traced it out really easily since I was making a lot. So in case you want to do a lot of them, this is a good idea to use your cereal boxes. So I already have my interfacing, what you're going to need. That's probably a good thing to tell you guys, is what you're going to need for these. And you really don't need much. You need maybe like a fat quarter of fabric. You don't even need like a lot. Like I said, this is a scrap fabric project, so you don't need too much. You can probably get one good mask out of this if you had the full fat quarter. If you're doing a medium, you probably get 2 masks out of this. And if you're doing contrasting fabrics for the back so that you can tell which the front and the back, you can definitely get quite a few out of just this little tiny piece of fabric. I'm going to do Laker colors, a request by my husband, which he's here in the room with me, so if you hear someone talking, that's who is over there. He's doing his stream right now. He streams on Twitch. Anyways, so yeah, this is going to be his mask because I didn't make him one for him yet that he wants to wear everywhere. You're going to need your fabric. You can have your regular cotton fabric. That's all this is just quilter's cotton. And make sure you pre-wash, because that way when it shrinks, it's not going to shrink after you finish your project, because that is the worst. So make sure you pre-wash, and it gets all the chemicals out too, because fabric has a lot of chemicals in it. So you always want to pre-wash and get all that stuff out first. Get rid of shrinking, and then you can go right in and do all your cutting and whatnot. So you want your fabric, you want your interfacing, which I have a really thin one, I forgot, but it's a Pellin interfacing, and you don't need a lot. Honestly, if you don't want to use interfacing, you don't have to, but for me it kind of adds a little more stiffness to your mask, so it's not so flimsy, and then it also does add at least 2 extra layers to kind of protect you in a sense. So interfacing is good. If you have it, you can use it. If not, that's totally fine. And then otherwise, you'll need a fabric marking pencil or chalk or something so that you can outline your mask. You can use a pen as well, just as long as it's something that'll show up on your fabric. For this project, you want to use a clip. I've seen people use like hair clips. Usually I have my daughters here somewhere, but you can use hair clips. You probably actually even use bobby pins. The thing with sewing pins is you don't want to poke holes in your mask. What is it? Like an added safety boundary so that you're not putting holes through the fabric for more stuff to get into, kind of a thing. So it's best to just use something that you can clip together. And you don't need too much. It's just for a couple parts. You only need maybe a couple pins or something just to help you out. You'll need scissors. So I have my fabric scissors. And what am I missing? Of course, you're going to need matching thread. Can you sew this by hand? I mean, we all have time right now, so it's probably something you could do. But I'm going to be using my sewing machine. So I have my matching thread for that. It's going to be contrasting so you guys can kind of see it, at least on the purple. So the only other thing you're going to need is the, what is this? The pipe cleaner or any type of floral wire. It's optional, but these ones, I put it at the top in the nose area, so that way it kind of fits more on your nose and on your face, and it gives you a more snug fit, especially right here. It does open a little on the bottom, but I think it's more important that it covers this more than anything else, because that way you're not breathing in. You're not going to be going like this under your face, and if you do, it's at least your chin and not your mouth or anything. So I did put a little bit, so I'll show you how to do that too. But that way, like I said, you can form it a little more to your face, so it gives you a better fit. So you just need pipe cleaner, and then the last thing is some sort of tie. What I have is just a cording, but you can use anything. You can use shoestrings, you can use bias tape, you can use a t-shirt and cut it up and make strips out of that. But this, I just saw this at the store the other day, and I just needed quick ones to like throw on real quick. I think cutting a t-shirt might be a little better that way. It has a little more movement, and you can get a little, like I said, more of a snug fit, because this can kind of come loose a little bit. What we're going to start with is we're going to cut out our patterns. We want to cut out 2 of each.
In the war zone?
So this is going to be my front. So let's start with the front ones first.
Franchise store?
If you're using a pattern fabric, for one, if it's like a repeating pattern like this, it doesn't matter which direction you use. Yeah. Just pay attention. If you have a design that goes one direction, that you make sure you cut them out the same direction, and that the top is on the top and not the bottom. But that goes with anything that you're gonna sew. Just make sure you always pay attention to your fabric. So I'm just gonna fold this in half, so I'm only cutting once. Work smarter, not harder. So I just folded it over. I got my pattern piece like so. So basically I'm just going to trace this out. Nothing special. just like so. And then from here, just cut it out. I swear I made so many. When I started cutting out this first layer like this in all my pattern fabrics, it wasn't too bad at first. And then I realized I had to cut out the same thing for the back, and I had to cut out the interfacing. And once I got halfway through the back pieces, I realized I messed up and I went a little too crazy on how many masks I made. But in the end, it's okay. I sent a lot of them to friends and family. Some of them will be going out in a few days. Alright, and then for my back fabric, I'm going to do the same thing with the back piece. So remember, the back piece is the shorter tabbed side. So same thing, I'm just going to trace it out with my folded over fabric, just like so. And then we'll cut these out. Easy peasy. If you've never sewn before, like I said, I mean, you could hand sew these. It might be a little difficult going through some of the layers, but it's possible, I think, especially if you do like a slip stitch, which I have a video on how to do that on my channel. I think that might help with the channels for your strings, for your ties. Alright, so I got my front pieces and my back pieces. So at this point, I'm going to add my interfacing like so. And this essentially you'd be adding to the back of your fabric. This side, since I have a solid print fabric, it doesn't matter which side you do it on. But if you have a pattern, then you want to make sure you do it on the back of the fabric. And this one is an iron-on, which helps when you're sewing so it doesn't move while you're trying to put them on, which I forgot. I need some interfacing for these. Does it have a scope on it? So for the interfacing, same thing, you want to cut them out, fold it over so you have opposite pieces. But the front, you can cut it out to match the edge, but just so that I'm not cutting out some more interfacing, because I already had a couple extra of these that I accidentally overcut with. I'm just going to use these since it doesn't matter on the edges, since these will be folded over for the channels. So that's alright. Alright, so I put them on all 4 pieces, so that hence you get your 4 layers. So you're going to take your 2 front pieces and lay them right sides together, or pretty sides together, just like so. And you want to match up this this long curve. So I'm just going to hold this in place for a second while we do the other one. And then same thing with the back pieces. You're going to match up the long sides, I'm marking the same thing, or the long curve side, right sides together, just like so. Alright, so now we can go to our machine and we can sew these together. So we're just going to sew from the top here all the way to the bottom, and that's about it for right now. We're going to sew it at a 1/4 inch seam allowance. If you want to do more, you can do more. You want to, I mean, you could try and do less, but I think 1/4 is the best. So it's kind of hard to see on the back side. Let me see if I can. So there's your 1/4 inch stitch there. Okay? And then we're going to do the same thing on the back side. On the back, we are going to fold the raw side edges in about, I want to say it's like an inch-ish. And we're going to do that on both sides. That way you have a nice finished edge. Especially with cotton, it does fray. So you definitely want to try to finish your edges if they're going to be showing. This doesn't have to be perfect fold over. You can just eye it. It's up to you. It's no big deal. I'm just doing the extra one since this is technically creating a filter pocket. You're going to be running stuff in and out through it. I'm just giving a little more of a edge, so if it gets frayed up, it's not a big deal. Alright, so I'm going to sew these down just straight across here, like so, at the same thing at the 1/4 inch seam allowance. I might go a little smaller, just to give me more fold over. Make sure that you backstitch. It's going to be hard to see on the yellow, but you can kind of see it there. Okay? So let me turn this around. And there's the back, like so. Alright, so let me do this to the other side. You're going to open up the back so that it pops out like so. So this one is going to be folded right side out. And then for the front, you're going to tuck the back into the front. And you're going to match up this center seam. And I'm just going to line it up, and then I'm going to fold the seam allowances away from each other. So I have the yellow facing one way and then the purple facing the other way. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the bottom, making sure that the seam allowances are going the same direction as the top. So from here, you're going to line up the rest of the edges. And you can clip these to help you out a little bit. Same thing on the bottom. You want to line up the bottom edge. So I'm doing that for both sides here. It doesn't have to be perfect. It really doesn't, because all of that is tucked into the seam allowance. And now we're going to sew the same thing, a 1/4 inch seam allowance along the top and along the bottom. And I'm going to go from starting from the very edge of the front. That way it kind of gives me a guide of where I'm folding it later, which I'll show you. Yeah. But I'm just going to start sewing from here and just 1/4 inch all the way down. Same thing on the top. Okay, so I got the bottom, and now I'm going to go back and do the top. The top can be a little tricky for new sewers since it's a little bit of a curve. But it shouldn't be too bad, because it's just a little tiny one. Alright, so we got our stitching. So I came all the way out, all the way across, and then same thing on the bottom. We're going to flip this inside out.
I was trying to bring back James.
Inside out? Yeah. Right side out. Just like so. And when you turn it out, you should see that your inside will have that nice finished edge now.
No, they're not working.
So you're not going to have the raw, you're going to have the nice fold over. What you want to do, let's see if I can get you in here, is you want to line out the edges as best as you can so they're not like folded tucked in. You actually want to like press them out so they're as folded out as you can get them. And that's how you're going to press them. If the top here, it kind of gets stuck in there since it's that little loop, what you can do is use like a pencil. You can use a chopstick. That's probably not a good idea. That is super sharp. Okay. Anything really that has like a little point to it, you can use for any corners that you sew. This one, it just needs a little help sometimes at the top. But you just want to make sure that it's evenly folded out like so before you press it. That way everything lays nice and neat.
I like landing on.
For the ends,
over here on storage.
That seam that we made, that's where I'm going to fold it. So if you can see on the back there. So that's where I'm going to fold it. So it's kind of useful as like a little bit of a guide to for my seam allowance there. So I'm going to do that on all four here, just like so. So those two, and then the same thing on the other side. Alright, so I'm basically going to iron this down. So we're gonna press the edges in place now that they're all neatly folded out like so. You can see that. Okay, so we're gonna press this. So I press this out so we're all nice and neat now. I pressed out the sides here.
My bad.
So they're folded over
I was like, what the hell did
where we
Yeah,
stitched on both sides. Alright, so now we're going to use your wire, your pipe cleaner, and I found that half of this is best. I hate using my good scissors. Okay, this is about 6 inches. It's a 6-inch piece. Alright, so this is going to go into the nose area, and that way it'll fit better to your face. So all I did, I have some tweezers. If you don't have them, it's fine, but maybe you can cover the ends with like tape, like floral wire or something. That way it's not poking through the fabric and poking you, because that's super annoying. And you don't want to end up with any sort of cuts or anything on your face anyways. So I just folded over the ends just a little bit, just so they have a nice blunt edge. I'm going to fold this in half, just so I know where the center is. And then this center is going to go where the peak of your nose mask is, or the nose of your mask is. So I'm just going to tuck it in our 2 layers here. And I'm just going to fill around till I've lined up the center. And I know you guys can't see this. So I have the center here, and I'm going to hold it in place. And then I'm going to push the piping to line as close to the inside edge as I can. So it's lined up right up against there. So it's right here. And I'm just going to place some clips to hold it in place so it doesn't move around. And then I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. Pressing it as close into that, what is it? Seam. Close into the seam as you can get it. So I'm going to put that side. Alright, and then we're going to sew this in. So the way I'm going to sew this, I'm going to do a 1/4 inch seam allowance down the seam here. And once I get to the inside fabric, I'm going to make it into a 3/8 inch seam allowance. So just a little bit bigger, just to accommodate for that piping that we have inside. So I'm just going to sew on the yellow part with the 3/8 inch seam allowance, and on the ends I'm just going to do a normal 1/4, just because that's as far as I folded it over. If you have a bigger fold over or seam allowance, you can definitely do a bigger seam. It's up to you. That's what worked for me when I was sewing them the other day. So let me sew this side up real quick. Alright, so I'm starting at the 1/4 inch seam allowance. And once I get to that, the yellow section, I'm going to ease it into a 3/8 seam allowance. Now when you get to the end where you're piping starting, make sure that you tuck it as close into the seam as you can so it's out of the way, because it's not pretty when your needle runs over it by accident. I know, because I've done it by accident. I know from experience. Alright, so we're just going to sew around. Make sure your fabric isn't tucked under where the nose part is. Make sure you flatten that as best as you can underneath your sewing. That way you don't have any folds or anything. Okay, and then once I get to the other seam allowance side, I'm going to go back to my 1/4. Alright. So this is what it'll look like on the front, like so. There's the back. See, I gauged it down to the 1/4. Alright, and then just the bottom, I'm going to do a top stitch just to even it out, and I'm going to sew that at just the 1/4 inch seam allowance all the way across. So that's what we have so far. So I'm just going to fold over the edges here. About, I want to say like,
oh, you're pushing?
Not an inch, maybe 5/8 of an inch. And I'm going to fold it over twice. So I kind of have this little, kind of like a pocket. So I folded it over once. 5/8 inches, and then I'm going to fold it over right there again. So it kind of neatly lines up with this edge here. So I'm going to clip that down. And then same thing on the other side. I'm going to fold it over 5/8 inches, and then again to line up. Whoop. Okay. And I will clip this in place for the moment. Alright, so that's what we have. And I just try my best to line it up with this edge right here.
Right here?
So it has a nice clean finish section, and you're not seeing all the interfacing and stuff when you turn it over. So I'm just going to sew this down. So it's about a 1/8 inch seam allowance from this inside edge. So I'm just going to sew from the top all the way down to the bottom just to hold everything in place. Make sure that you backstitch so that way it doesn't come undone after you wear and wash and stuff.
Somewhere over here.
So this is what the front looks like and the back. So just like so. Alright, so I have my cording. Like I said earlier in the video, you can use shoestrings would be really good. You can use a t-shirt and just cut out strips. What else? Bias tape will look really nice. I mean, just go ahead, get creative, whatever is comfortable for you, whatever is more convenient, whatever you have. You don't have to go all out. The bias tape you can use, just make sure since it's folded over like this, you want the double fold bias tape, and just sew it down so it doesn't open. So you're going to sew all the way down to close up that side edge, and then just sew across on the ends so that you can fold it over if you want so you have a nicer edge. You can just sew across and then thread that through. And these are actually really nice because they have a little bit of, not stretch, but they're not as like stiff as say this. It's got a little bit of maneuverability, so it'll give you a more comfortable fit. So you can definitely find that at craft stores. I can't remember if Michael's has it, but Hobby Lobby, Joann's, they should have that there. And they have a variety of colors, so you can definitely match to whatever, or just get a generic one. Use coupons, don't buy full price, it's not worth it. Or you can make some. Making some, you can do that too. It's up to you how long you want this to be. It's going to be about here, so if you fold it in half, you can see how much cord you're going to have behind you to tie around your head. So I think this might be a good measurement. So I'm going to cut 2 of these.
Got one?
Just like so.
I killed him. He was trying to self-res. There might be more.
If you're doing bias tape, you can add a safety pin on the end, and that'll help you thread it through. You just push the safety pin through your channel. This is a little more difficult with the cording, especially with this size. I would recommend a slightly smaller size than this. I threw away the package. I can't tell you what it is. I think it was like 3/17 or something. It was some random number. Alright, so I'm just going to stick, I have these sewing tweezers, so I'm just going to put it as through just so I have some area to open up a little bit. And I'm just going to pass it through as best as I can.
We're just barely gonna make it.
I know there's a lot of different patterns out there, but like I said, this was the style that I liked. It was the most comfortable for me, and I liked the way it looked. So, and it gives me a lot of coverage.
No, I don't.
So I got one side threaded through.
I just bought one.
There we go. So let's get the other side in. And if you have to wash, it's probably best to take them off when you wash. No, I mean, you want to wash them too, because they will also be outside with you. But if you need to like put them in a bag or a laundry bag or something, I honestly would probably just throw it in the wash, just because that's me and I don't care about buying new straps or whatever. But if you're trying to make them last, definitely use like a laundry bag or something. Yeah, see, this cording isn't the best, but it was what they had at the store. Alright, got it.
Down one?
Okay, so now that I have my straps threaded, if I'm using cording like this, I will just tie a little knot on the end, like so to keep it from coming apart.
He's watching me? He's watching me?
I try to use a lighter to burn the edges so they don't fray, but this one just kind of burns. So it's not like ribbon like I was hoping it would be, where it would just kind of melt together.
Those guys up the hill.
And the neatest thing about this kind of thing is that when you put it on your face, let's see if I can get this out of the way. Okay, so when I put it on my face,
watch your left, watch your left.
You can tie up the top. So once you get it as, yeah, the cording's not as comfy as the bias tape, because the one I have that I've been using, I put bias tape on that. So I can see why my husband likes that more, but alright. But yeah, you can tighten the sides here so it snugs more to your face up here and down here. And then, like I said, the wire, you can kind of form it to your face here. So it really closes up the gaps there, which is really nice. So that's what it looks like completed. So for this mask, like I said, oops, I got makeup on it. It's got 4 layers already. So you have your 2 interfacing layers, and then you have your 2 fabric layers. But you have your filter pocket now, so you can stick a filter in here. Now, when I was making these for some of my friends and stuff, one of them had mentioned to me, because I had read on some of the mask tutorials that they were using HEPA filters for like air purifiers and stuff like that. And I'm glad she found this, but she told me that she found out that some of those HEPA filters actually have fiberglass, like tiny fiberglass in them. But it was saying that that's how the HEPA filters filter out up to 99.7% of viruses and everything like that, is because the fiberglass is sticky, and that's what catches those things. But breathing that in is obviously not good for you. The ones that I bought were the ones Filtrate or something like that. Now those ones don't have fiberglass, but it's still not recommended to use them because they just don't know with health-wise and stuff. They're not, the company does not back behind using them. So I ordered some, they'll come in, but we'll see. So I would recommend how the article says. I would definitely use like a coffee filter more than anything else. I mean, essentially these masks aren't meant to keep stuff out. It is fabric, so anything's gonna go right through it. But it's to help keep stuff in. It's better than not having nothing, put it that way. And I know it's required right now, so I mean, it's the best we can do other than getting the actual, what is it, the N95 masks. But if you're going to be wearing them for long periods of time, or you're going to be around a lot of people, I would definitely add the filter then. But otherwise, you could probably just, if you're going somewhere for 10 minutes, or you're just going to the store to grab something and run out, this should just be fine with just how they are with the fabric. After pre-washing and stuff, you can just throw it into the washer and dryer. Make sure you wash it on hot water so it cleans out everything, all the bad stuff and whatnot that got onto it. When you take it off, make sure you wash your hands, because as much as they say don't touch the front of your mask, don't touch, you know, all the stuff, how can you not take it off without touching the mask? Like, it's just gonna happen. So just make sure that once you do, put it where it needs to go, and then wash your hands, and that's the best thing you can do. But this one's like I said, this one's a really easy pattern, and really easy to design. So if you're even like a beginner sewer, you could definitely whip up a couple of these, and it shouldn't be too much of a problem. If you really have trouble with the wire inside, you don't have to include that. You could just make it how it is. I linked the YouTube video where this mask came from. It was from Daisy Multifaceted. But I just want to thank everyone for hanging out with me. Like I said, I hope I can do a couple more little projects like this and do a live stream, so that way we can interact a little more. Just do something a little different from time to time. Since my videos, you can only see my hands most of the time. Well, you see me a little bit when I'm trying it on. But this will be my next No, I can't say that. I can't say it'll be my next video. I'm working on it. I'm working on it, guys. Yeah, that's my Queen of Hearts fashionista dress. So hopefully I get that video up eventually. I definitely had I hit a bump in the road and my motivation kind of just went away. So when I started sewing these masks, it kind of came back and I got excited about sewing again. So hopefully I'll keep picking it up and I can start putting out videos again, because I know it's been a little while. I don't know, I was thinking of doing a giveaway. I don't know. I guess when I put this video up, I will do a giveaway with some masks. I ended up, from the 75 masks that I made, I had about 10 or so left over, some medium ones, which are some of these right here. And let's say, I guess it'll be like make sure you're subscribed to my channel and leave me a comment of how many masks you want. Mind you, I only have 10 and they're medium size, but tell me how many masks you want, and if you're an essential worker or not. How about that? That sounds like fun. And I will pick one person maybe 3 days after posting this video. Alright guys, thank you for hanging out. I hope this was fun. I hope it was helpful. I hope it was insightful, and I hope you enjoyed it. So hopefully we'll do this again soon, and subscribe if you have not already, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye.